I have hesitated since the election to tell you, hey, here's what you should do, because I don't know what you can do. And quite honestly, if you're anything like me, I'm listening to Christmas music, and I am trying to just recharge as much as I possibly can, because as I was laying in bed last night talking to my wife, I said, she said, how you feeling? I said, I'm tired. She said, well, it's 11:30. You might want to close the book. And I said, I'm tired, and I'm mentally tired because I think the next round is going to be harder than the first round. And we've just finished the first round, and the bell rang on election night. And so now I'm kind of in my corner, and I'm waiting for the next bell to ring. And
you're bleeding.
I'm bleeding.
You're bleeding from every orifice of your body.
I've got Burgess Meredith. Come on, Rock. You can do it. And he's cutting both of our eyes. And and so I've just been saying, you know what? I'm gonna sit around and try to enjoy things and recharge until Christmas. However, there is something that has come to my attention that we have to get involved in today. I urge you to call the Senate and beg them to vote against this. Tomorrow, the United Nations has the UN Convention on the Right of Persons with Disability. This will impact every parent and every parent of a disabled child and every disabled person in America, let alone the world. It is already passed the Senate committee. It is about to go to the floor of the Senate, and it must be stopped.
They need 34 senators, I think, to block it, right? To block confirmation.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to believe it's already gotten this far, and we haven't heard a word about it.
Okay, this is the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Article 18, Section 2 provides, quote, children with disabilities shall be registered immediately after birth.
What?
Why are we registering children with disabilities? There is nothing, by the way, in this bill that America, we've got great things for people with disabilities. And if you want to fix something more, I've got a child with disabilities. If you want to fix something, then let's have that conversation and let's fix it ourselves. Do not give this power through the Senate, and all they have to do is ratify this, and it's done. Why do we need to register children with disabilities? Children with disabilities shall be registered immediately after birth and shall have the right from birth to a name, the right to acquire a nationality, and as far as possible, the right to know and be cared for by their parents.
I like the name thing, though, because there's so many disabled people without names right now. You don't know what to call them.
Yeah.
You walk up to a disabled person and you say, hey, disabled person, because they don't have a name.
Yeah.
And so this'll help. They could be like a Bob or a Dave or Susie or whatever now.
It is a lot easier, though, to address someone you don't know that's disabled, because you know that they go by disabled kid or disabled dude.
Right. Or hey, you.
Hey, you is a
Hey, you is a good one.
Thing two.
That's nice. When there's two together, that's a nice way to do it.
Sometimes, that's what they do. Where is that coming from? They have a right to a name? What? Why is that necessary?
And the right to acquire a nationality. Who gives birth to a disabled kid and then says, I think he might be Canadian.
I don't know where he's from. I don't know where he's from.
He's not American, I'll tell you that. Look at him. He's got 3 arms. Not American.
It's so great. It's the typical addressing a problem that doesn't exist to get something else in.
I'm telling you, this means something else. Well, we should get Senator Bolton, or I mean not Senator, but Ambassador Bolton on. I'll bet you, because he's all on these NGOs, I'll bet you he knows exactly what this means. This language, right to a name, the right to acquire a nationality. And here's the important part, besides the registering of children with disabilities. As far as possible, the right to know and be cared for by their parents. What that will be is a lawsuit ready to happen.
Mm-hmm.
If you give up a disabled child because you just can't handle, you're just like, I can't be the parent of a disabled child. You just, for some reason, you can't handle it. If you give that child up for adoption to a loving family, well, you have a right to know and be cared for by your parent. So you can sue those parents when you get older for not taking care of you.
And they have to take you back and take care of you.
Or pay up, Jack. You have a right. You have a right. And don't tell me that there won't be some firm that will sue for this. And again,
think of what that does to the adopted family, too.
Not only think about what it does to the adopted family, think if you are somebody who is being given a choice, your child is most likely disabled.
Yeah, and you're going to be held accountable and responsible for that person.
One way or another.
Adoption may not be an option at that point.
You'll abort.
Yeah.
This is a pro-abortion stance. It is also, look what's happening do I have them here? The news stories out of England. In England, they are now, I don't have the story in front of me. They are now killing babies and letting them die. They're starving them to death, as well as disabled and terminally ill patients.
It's a death path. They put babies
That's what they call it.
On a death path in England. And the story was chilling because it said, we already know that we do this to elderly. And
but we didn't know we were doing it to children.
Yeah, they're putting them on death pathways, and so they starve them to death.
Here's a 14-year-old kid. He's got cancer, and he was put on a death path. And what that means, again, is not that we make you comfortable and we stop treatment. We stop feeding you. We stop giving you water. Now, that is extraordinarily painful. This is, Terry Schiavo's brother was in Philadelphia. He came by, and you didn't see him.
I didn't see him.
Yeah, he came by, and this is the thing that we fought when we were. Remember, Jeffy and Stu, you were there when we were in Florida on Terry Schiavo, and everybody said it doesn't matter, and we said don't cheapen life. Well, now they're doing it all the time in England, and they just found out that they're doing it to babies. So you're born. If there's something wrong with you, the state is saying we can't afford to keep you alive, and so they starve you to death and just call it a death pathway. This is horrible. This is Nazi Germany, and that's what this is about with the UN. And don't listen to anybody else telling you any kind of bullshit. Whoa, any other kind of bullcrap on this.
that was close.
Wow, that is not a word that I even use. Where did that come from? Do not. I have a daughter that has disabilities.
I know.
Do not listen to them. Do not listen to them.
And if you
didn't listen, or your friends didn't listen when we said that there were death pathways or death panels. And coming this June, they now are going. They've already changed the way, and it officially starts in June. The way you get kidneys. If you want a kidney transplant, good luck with that. You better be the right person, and you better be the right age, because the elderly are not going to get them, and the youth are not going to get them. It's going to be the 40-something that has the best odds of going in and putting more into the system than they take.
And remember, this is the healthcare system in England that
we modeled ours after.
Yeah, that what was his name? That called it. That was so excited about Great Britain's.
Yeah, the Medicare guy.
Yeah, and Berkowitz or something like that. And he was all over the British system. And a doctor finally came forward and admitted to starving and dehydrating 10 babies to death in the neonatal unit of one of the hospitals there. He describes it as a 10-day process during which the baby becomes smaller and shrunken. About 130,000 elderly and terminally ill patients reportedly die every year on the Liverpool care pathway or death pathways. The Liverpool care pathway. How is it a care pathway when you've removed the care from them? That's interesting, because that's a 1984 type thing where they've changed the meaning of words. They're doing it.
We are living in a time now. I saw this headline the other day. Reality has consequences. Listen to this story. The world no longer makes sense to most people over 40 years of age. I think that's true. Everything that you... Remember I used to say, everything you thought was solid will be liquid. Everything you thought you could count on, you won't be able to. The world will be upside down. We're here. The world no longer makes sense to most people over 40 years of age. Much of what we thought we knew was true is now denied. What was to us obviously false, or at least always was obviously false, is now accepted as being true. That's where we are. It's not a sane world anymore. Fantasies might be satisfying to many people, but they are ultimately destructive. Truth cannot be changed by believing and repeating falsehoods, nor can it be altered by more people believing untruths. But when the fantasizers overwhelm society with their false beliefs, society will no longer function. Society cannot invent its own truth based on convenience, prejudice, or popularity. Truth is not manufactured myth. It is key to survival. Societies which deviate from truth do not survive. Ayn Rand said, "You can avoid reality, but you cannot avoid the consequences of avoiding reality." The avoidance of reality has taken over our society, and the consequences of doing so have been building for decades and will soon overwhelm us. On our current path, much of which we knew and cared for and knew to be true will be destroyed. I think that is unbelievably accurate. That's from Tyler Durden. Absolutely true.
Isn't that the guy from Fight Club? It's got to be an online name of some sort.
I think it probably is.
Yeah. I don't think his real
reality
name
has consequences. It's from Zero Hedge.
Says the guy who has the name of the guy of Fight Club.
Well, you know what? I have to tell you.
He's right, though. Obviously.
Yeah, he's right. And more people are beginning to see the realities of what we're facing. And it is becoming more and more daunting to them.
I just hope that doesn't inspire other people to almost say the word Bolsheviks on the air.
Yeah.
That way, we cannot
really
get to that
does.
point.
Thank you. And I'm glad I didn't. That's a word I don't use.
You don't use Bolsheviks, and
You usually say communists.
yeah, you usually do. So let's make
so
sure
it
for
was
the
weird.
future we use communists.
I believe it's actually Bolshevik.
Yeah, you mispronounced it a little bit at the beginning,
do
but you
that.
caught yourself.
I
That
do
was good.
Okay, good. We learned a lot. By the way, the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. It goes in front of the Senate tomorrow. It is already passed the Senate committee. It now goes in front of the full Senate. The ones that you really need to watch for and urge, Orrin Hatch is one of the senators that we really need to make sure he is voting the right way. I will tell you, this cannot pass. This cannot pass. We are moving to sign away our sovereignty and our right to life. It cannot pass. Please call the Senate. The Capitol Hill switchboard is 202-224-3121. 202-224-3121. They vote tomorrow. UN's Convention on the Right of Persons with Disabilities. It must not pass.